I'm going to show you the top 5 best heavy runic attacks in the entire God of War Norse Saga, in no particular order. But keep in mind, the runics chosen here had to strike a balance between melee damage, crowd control, defense, and execution time, since heavy runics naturally take longer to pull off than lighter ones. So with that in mind, let's dive into the first of the 5 best heavy runics in the entire God of War reboot. Leviathan Roar, God of War Ragnarok.
Left side incoming!
Leviathan Roar was first introduced in God of War Ragnarok, and it quickly cemented itself as one of the best heavy runics in the entire saga. The reason? Absolute immunity. Once activated, Kratos becomes untouchable. Projectiles, yellow rings, even devastating red ring attacks are no longer threats. The runic sends out a massive wave of frost from the Leviathan Axe, disrupting everything in its path while dealing huge stun damage across the battlefield. One of its most powerful traits lies in its undying shield that forms a protective cover for Kratos against lethal strikes. This is the only heavy runic that grants Kratos that undying ability. Thus a perk later made famous in the Valhalla DLC as a collectible relic in legendary chests. With Undying, Kratos can take damage without actually losing health, even against nightmare-level attacks like Tyr's spray-like Bloodstrike. In other words, Leviathan Roar gives Kratos the freedom to charge into chaos and come out undamaged, even when locked in the runic's animation. But that is no problem, right? Kratos is 100% shielded. And that brings us to the second runic of the 5 best heavy runic attacks in the Norse Saga. Blessings of the Frost, God of War 2018. Yes, you've seen this before. In Ragnarok, it returns under the skill tree as momentum skills. Immolation for the Blades of Chaos, Maelstrom for the Draupnir Spear, and Permafrost for the Leviathan Axe. Whenever it's activated, it turns Kratos into a powerful sprinting killer machine. What makes Blessings of the Frost stand out is its versatility. Once activated, it doesn't lock Kratos in a long animation cycle. Instead, it releases concussive frost waves that stun enemies, disrupt incoming attacks, and inflict heavy frost damage. This opens a perfect window for Kratos to chain evasive counters and devastating combos, maximizing damage output against even the toughest bosses. But here's where it gets even more impressive. While active, Blessings of the Frost boost Kratos' movement, travel, and combat speed. You'll notice faster sprints, quicker dodges, and smoother combo execution, like weaving through a storm of enemies with ease. That speed advantage adds a powerful layer of defense, crowd control, and combo executions, as bosses suddenly slow under the frost effect, leaving them exposed to relentless elemental punishment. And it doesn't stop there. This runic delivers one of the highest melee damage outputs of any heavy runic. Pair it with armor sets like Zeus, Ancient, Ivaldi's, or Cuirass of the Valkyrie, and Kratos can wipe out even the strongest Valkyries or top-tier bosses in less than 30 seconds. That's the raw, icy power of Blessings of the Frost. So, take a look.
You can't beat me!
And that brings us to the third runic of the 5 best heavy runic attacks in the Norse Saga. Neiman Crush, God of War Ragnarok.
What's done?
Neiman Crush is one of the most devastating heavy runic attacks for the Blades of Chaos, and it easily earns its spot in the top 5. In God of War 2018, it was a light runic attack and perhaps proved too good, eventually being elevated to a heavy runic in God of War Ragnarok. Its ability to snap high-level bosses out of lethal red ring attacks, combined with its shorter animation cycle for a heavy runic, makes it a powerful tool for counterattacks. When activated, Kratos slams the blades together, creating a fiery shockwave while also unleashing a volley of explosive mortars from the blast, dealing massive burn damage. This makes it excellent for crowd control situations, defense, and counters, since everything around Kratos is either scorched, staggered, or outright obliterated. What makes Nemean Crush stand out is its perfect balance between raw damage and control, while still covering a wide area of effect. And because it can send enemies mid-air, it not only deals direct burn damage, but also creates breathing room, giving you time to follow up with aerial combos. That brings us to the 4th runic of the 5 best heavy runic attacks in the Norse Saga.
I wonder how many of these...
Breath of Tamur, God of War 2018. Breath of Tamur is one of the most powerful runics for the Leviathan Axe, appearing in both entries of the Norse Saga. But I have to be honest, the God of War 2018 version remains the best. Its channeling animation and counter potential are unmatched. Once activated, enemies are frozen in place, their attack strings broken, and you're practically untouchable until the beam fades. Even against tough bosses or overwhelming crowds, it feels like a safe haven. In God of War Ragnarok, though, things took a hit. The cone is smaller, the stagger weaker, enemies recover faster, and the vulnerability risk simply isn't worth the trade-off in damage. Kratos is left wide open during the animation, making it far more punishing than rewarding. That's what makes the 2018 Breath of Tamur so special. Its range and area of effect were insane. It wiped out weaker enemies instantly while slowing or freezing even the strongest bosses, making it both a devastating damage tool and a defensive lifesaver. Breath of Tamur is versatile and ticks all boxes when it comes to melee damage, control, and defense. It lets Kratos dictate the flow of the combat by crafting a safe space while calming chaotic moments. Now that we've seen what it can do, that brings us to the 5th runic of the 5 best heavy runic attacks in the Norse Saga. Vindsvalr's Windstorm, God of War Ragnarok. Vindsvalr's Windstorm is one of the flashiest and most effective heavy runics for the Draupnir Spear, and it proves just how devastating wind magic can get. The runic, once activated, sends out tornado-like chaotic cyclones that pulls enemies into its center. Anything caught inside is juggled, staggered, and helpless, giving you the perfect setup for follow-up combos or spear detonations. What makes this runic shine is its crowd control, such that even when an enemy lurks behind, one of the many tornadoes it sends out can pick and throw the boss off balance. The windstorm completely disrupts enemy formations. Large groups get sucked into the vortex, weaker foes are tossed around like ragdolls, and even stronger enemies are thrown off balance. This combination of control, safety, and destructive power makes Vindsvalr's Windstorm more than just a spectacle. Its animation time is fast, it stuns, and it's a battlefield changer. That makes it one of the most reliable and dominant heavy runics in the entire Norse Saga. So there you have it. But before we wrap up, here's a quick bonus mention, one that could easily be tagged as a 6th pick. Glavestorm, God of War 2018. Glavestorm shines best in crowd control scenarios. Its long-range reach makes it perfect for keeping enemies at bay, and it can stun or interrupt their attacks in an instant. It's a runic that feels satisfying when you need to stop multiple enemies in their tracks. That said, it doesn't quite hit as hard as the top 5. Its melee damage and impact on bosses fall a little short, and the duration of its effectiveness is limited compared to the others. Still, for what it brings to the table, reach, crowd control, and quick disruption, Glavestorm is a worthy mention for anyone looking to expand their arsenal. Alright, let us know your favorite heavy runic attack in the comment section, and subscribe for more God of War content across the series. Leave us a like if you enjoyed the breakdown, and if you want, you can always watch the previous video on the screen for the top 5 best light runic attacks in the entire God of War Norse Saga. I would see you in the next video, and bye for now.